Let's set the record straight. Aprilia didn't just survive a war. They dragged Jorge Martin back to Newali by the neck, beat Honda at their own game, and reminded the grid that behind every factory bike, there's a bastard in a suit who plays to win. This isn't a comeback story. It's a power move executed with cold hands and a cigar in mouth. And now, with 10 races to go, Aprilia has a wounded champion, a rising beast in Bezzecchi, and a factory that just punched back in its own house. The backstab that backfired. Jorge Martin had it planned. Pull the escape clause, ditch Aprilia, walk into Honda as their golden boy for the 2026-28 rebuild, and ride into a new era under new rules. But here's the thing. This ain't a sport where the fastest guy always wins. Contracts are grenades. Clauses are loaded traps. And Massimo Rivola, that man doesn't flinch. Martin's crash in Qatar was violent enough to stop hearts. A hemop pneumothorax, 11 ribs broken, 95 days out. While doctors stitched bones, Aprilia plotted. Everyone else saw a tragedy. Rivola saw leverage. Martin had a ticking clause. If he wasn't in title contention post-France, he could leave. But the key word was contention, and contention means racing. Rivola played it like a gangster lawyer. You didn't race, you're not in contention. Clause dead. And just like that, the lock Martin thought he picked slammed back shut. The Honda dream dies in court. Honda were ready. They had their man. A 3-year contract inked, RC213V prepped. The plan was to hand Martin the keys to a revolution. But Rivola wasn't bluffing. He lit a cigar, walked into France, and told Honda to back the hell off or burn. At first, Honda stood tall. They had paperwork, promises, and a PR rollout in waiting. But here's the problem when you face a cornered Italian team in their home turf. They don't just fight dirty. They bring the mafia. Enter Carmelo Espeleta, Dorna's godfather. He walked out in support of Aprilia's claim, and with one statement, turned Honda's fire into ashes. No one challenges the championship's ruling body and walks away clean. Not even Honda. What this really means is, Honda blinked. They backed off. Their entire rebuild collapsed before it even began. Jorge Martin, from champion to caged animal. Imagine being the reigning world champion. Imagine signing your way out. Then imagine being forced back in, not because your team begged, but because they outsmarted you. That's Martin's 2025. He returned at Brno with the look of a man who had been publicly castrated. Not broken on the bike, but psychologically shelled. He walked into the paddock like a prisoner in his own colors. Fans didn't know whether to cheer or question. Press hounds were waiting to rip him apart. That pre-race conference? It was pure theater. No apology, just awkward justifications, fake smiles, and a 1,000-yard stare. The guy who ruled 2024 looked like he didn't even want to race. And who could blame him? Aprilia owned him now. Not just contractually, mentally. The fire Aprilia didn't expect. While Martin wrestled demons, Aprilia's second blade started sharpening. Marco Bezzecchi, once dismissed as solid but inconsistent, started stepping into the spotlight. Sprint podiums, pure venom on Saturdays. This wasn't the plan. Aprilia banked on Martin carrying the weight, but Bezzecchi, he lit the fuse. At Sachsenring, he stared down Pecco and Marquez. He didn't flinch. At Assen, he dropped a front row that echoed across Newali. Bezzecchi wasn't just rising, he was hungry. And with Martin emotionally unplugged, Aprilia started whispering in Bezzecchi's ear. You're the future. You're the fighter. You're the fighter. You're the guy who didn't beg to leave. There's now real talk inside Aprilia. Not just giving Bezzecchi a second factory seat, but giving him the seat. Because let's be real, who do you bet on? The guy who fought to stay, or the one who tried to run when it got hard? The wild homecoming, Aprilia's worst case scenario? Playing all this out at home, Mugello, Misano, where their fans wear black and red, where banners say Forza Newali, and where this entire damn war played out like a telenovela soaked in gasoline. At Misano, Martin returned to testing, and he was fast, but not happy. Aprilia filmed the test, posted it everywhere, showing the world that their golden boy was back, even if he looked dead behind the eyes. Meanwhile, Bezzecchi smiled wide, camera-ready, the face of the brand they didn't have to force to stay. It was a chess move Aprilia didn't plan, but now they can't ignore it. Bezzecchi has the spark. Martin has the baggage. One came to war. One came with paperwork. Rivola, the real MVP. Massimo Rivola doesn't get emotional. He gets results. This isn't the kind of guy who hopes riders stay loyal. He locks them in, and if they try to run, he pulls the rug, the contract, and the entire media narrative. He waited. He struck. He involved Dorna. And he didn't just stop Honda, he made them look weak. That's gangster shit. Ask around the paddock. Riders trust teams, but fear Rivola, because if you sign with him, he owns your ass. Ask Martin, ask Honda, ask anyone who tried to test Aprilia's chain. He handled the whole crisis with his left hand and kept his right free for the next war. The 2027 question. Here's where things get even messier. In 2027, MotoGP changes everything. Pirelli tires, 850cc engines, complete reset. Honda sees that season as their Lazarus year. And Martin? He's still their target. Aprilia might have won this round, but if they can't keep Martin happy, the 2026 season will be a cold, awkward slow burn. He'll show up, he'll ride, but he won't bleed for them. If Bezzecchi wins first, if Martin's body language stays defeated, Aprilia will be forced to either double down on a broken asset or let him walk for real in 2027. And this time, there won't be a clause to save them. Ducati, watching and laughing. Meanwhile, Ducati's watching all this like hyenas with popcorn. They lost Martin once, but now they've got Pecco, Mark, and maybe even Acosta if the cards fall right. And what's Aprilia got? A mentally rattled rider forced to stay, a rising second rider who's not ready for the throne yet, and a CEO who just pulled off a gangster move, but may have created internal warfare doing it. Let's be clear, Aprilia needed this win, but it came at a cost. You don't trap a champion without fallout. And Ducati? They smell blood. Martin's inner war. The ugliest part of all this? Jorge Martin knows he lost control. He looks at the #1 plate and doesn't feel proud. He feels trapped. The guy who could have been Honda's resurrection now rides a bike he doesn't trust, for bosses who trapped him, with a teammate who might take his spot. Every result now is judged not on wins, but on mental state. Every mistake is questioned. Every podium is a "was that enough" moment. That breaks a rider slowly, quietly, brutally. And that's where the real war lives. Not in contracts, not in court, but inside Martin's head. 10 races. No mercy. We've got 10 rounds left in 2025. 10 chances for Martin to prove he's not finished. 10 races where every camera will zoom in on his face, waiting to see if he snaps, smiles, or sinks. Aprilia owns him on paper. But do they own his heart? That's the question. Bezzecchi's not waiting. Honda's not giving up. Ducati's not afraid. And Rivola? He's already plotting 2026, 2027, and 2028 in the back of his mind. This is the kind of chaos MotoGP lives for. Boardroom blood, rider mind games, factory pride, and above it all, the sense that one false move could flip everything again. So buckle up, because Aprilia may have won this round, but this war is just getting started.